Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Uber Cordero show for this week. And I'm really glad to have you here and to join us in this show. And we are trying a very interesting concept of talking to people to see what they're talking about and what they are thinking about on issues that are influential on African things, events, or people in life. And this week, our show is talking about feminism. We're particularly concerned about feminism as understood by African millennials. We are more interested in hearing how gender dynamics and gender concepts have been internalized or pushed back on by people in African spaces. And today in attendance, we got three beautiful African women. We have Marcella, and we have Olivia, and we have Winnie. We're going to hear what they have to say about gender dynamics growing up and living in Africa and confronting gender dynamics. So this show is about their conversation. We're going to spend the next hour talking about that. All right. So ladies, welcome aboard and glad to have you in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start off. I wanted to I have some questions here that I'm going to ask. So one of the first things that I want to ask is, what does feminism mean to you guys? And why is it controversial? So I want to hear what you guys think about that. And then we go around and you can talk about whatever you think is important to you.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. Feminism to me means treating every gender equally, irrespective of their sexes or any physical status or something like that. It's just treating every gender with respect and equality. So giving individuals or supporting individuals' desires, dreams, living, how do I say, living unapologetically you, without being like, feeling like I have to act this way, I have to do this way. Of course, you have to be conscious about how you act, but then you don't have to think about how I'm supposed to talk, when I'm supposed to talk, where I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to dress. It's just being you and express and living in an ideal world that we should be living. But in real sense, that's not the case how sometimes it turns out. Sometimes we really think that it should be that way, being treated equally and respected, irrespective of your gender or age or something like that. But it doesn't happen like that because of the real society that we live in.
Thank you, Winnie. What do you think, Olivia?
Do you expect us to be politically correct or can just go for it?
I want you guys to be raw. I want you guys to say as it is from the kitchen, huh?
Okay, I think ideally, feminism and as a political term, it was meant for it for the equality of sexes economically, politically, socially, in all of those spheres. That is ideally what it should be. But in reality, that's not what's happening. I think maybe there was a political agenda behind the term. But I feel like for me personally, as Winnie said, feminism should ideally be, each of the gender to be able to express themselves in a way that they're comfortable, in whatever, like economically, personally, socially, economically. I think that would be the ideal, feminism.
Marcella, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I agree with both ladies. What they said is totally true. But and one thing I really wanted to add was the idea that what women are capable of doing has been simplified in a way. And for me, I viewed feminism as a shift where it's not like women we are stopping to do what we do, but it's valued. For many years, for example, housework or taking care of kids have always been quantified like, oh, they're just sitting home. But it's actually a 24/7 day job where you can be off. And because it's done by a woman, it's kind of taken like it's nothing. But when a man take care of their own kid, it's taken like it's something special, but it's their own kid too. So I feel like that's something to add, how women and men may do the same thing, but it's simplified or taken like it's not as important when a woman is doing it. And apart from everything the ladies have said, I don't have to repeat it, but that idea to me is very important to be taken as, important as a man for whatever I do.
And I also think that we women, we've always been expected to do much. And like Marcella said, it's not taken into account. Like, whatever you do, you have to look back, look sideways, and you have to think about it, how it turns out, how people will perceive it. Am I acting in a woman way? Am I dressing in a woman way? Am I dressing, ladylike? Am I doing everything? Should I play the games that I need to play? Should I attend the events that I need to play? Who should I interact with? When you interact with male individuals, probably you're just innocently interacting with them, and it goes past some hours, it's considered a little bit inappropriate. Not even a little bit, it's considered inappropriate. If you dress in a way and something probably happens, you are like, she was not dressing right, she was not doing the right thing, she was not in the right place. So everything is just ganged about us without considering that we want to fit in the society equally without being judged or maybe feeling away. Like, we just want to fit in, and everybody should respect that, because we are here. It's not a choice, we have to be here, and we don't need to be treated less valued because we are a different kind of gender.
That's really interesting, Winnie, what you say. And Marcella, all your definitions are really accurate, because part of the thing which we have been feeling in Africa right now, especially in the internet space, is that there's this backlash on this movement, progressive movement about women empowerment, particularly among males growing up after 1990, born after 1992. And part of the questions that they are asking is, what about us? Like, a lot of there's been this empowerment of women that for the most part has been successful, right? We, not as we would want it to be, but there's been some movement towards equality, towards representation, and in such a way that now some countries in Africa have women leaders. The woman president in Tanzania, there are many women who are holding CEO positions, ambassadors, politicians, all these things that are good to be as role models for women. But when it comes to like university intake and job, there is this kind of like affirmative action that been, I'm a little older than all of you all, so I can talk about this. That rose out of the 1980s, that women got quotas and got into spaces of power and influence. And some of these men feel really threatened because they are not competitive, but they see their counterparts, perhaps classmates, village mates, people from the streets they grew up in, rising higher and outranking them monetarily and with cultural influence as well. And if these are the people they're going to be marrying or having relationship with, it is threatening. So I want to hear what you guys think about this. I want you guys to go into road. Don't be very academic. Just tell us what you guys think. Huh?
I
Yeah.
think the first thing that we have to acknowledge, is the complexity of socialization. We've been brought up in such a way that we view the man as he should be the head of the household. So if we're socialized like that from a young age, then when we're going to the job space, then we look towards the man to be able to lead, even in the workspace. When in reality, these days, like, I want to be the boss too, you know. You know, I like I want to hold those positions, you know, because for so long as women, we've tried to like reach those positions, but there's always that glass ceiling, you know, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, you know, there's only a certain level where we'll reach, and then you won't find women at the top. And why is that? Because we've been brought up in such a way that it's so normal,
Don't be too powerful so
you know.
that you don't, maybe you won't be able to find a husband because you look too powerful and you've gone way too far.
And
So
then we've been
scary.
taught women that marriage is an ideal. So I'm gonna shrink myself. I'm gonna make myself feel so invisible so that I can get a husband, you know. So I
We
feel like
connect,
stems
Why
from
is the marriage ideal, Marcella?
yes, connecting into that ideal. That's another issue because we've been brought up. You hear even women who are still, with African background, but they are here in the US, who, when you ask, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Oh, I want a rich husband. Oh, I want a cute husband. That's their goal. We've been brought up to be like, whatever we are doing, our goal is just to find a husband. So whatever we do goes around making sure you're perfect for that husband to find you.
Or if you really do meet your goals and you're at the top, you like not being treated with respect that you deserve. You'll be like, she doesn't she's at the top, but she has no husband. She we don't know how she got there, you know. How can we give her respect when she's not married? She cannot be a leader because she doesn't have a household. I mean, she doesn't know how to lead because she doesn't have a family. How can she know how to lead? Or even if she's reached at the top of level, she's feeling like, I've accomplished everything, but I don't have a man by my side. I don't know why that should be a problem, because I don't really think that for you to be successful, you have to get into a marriage life and feel that now I've settled down and I've achieved myself. But I think it's not our own liking. I do think that the society has really made us to think that for us to feel complete, we have to have a man by our side. And us not having that just make us feel that even if we have achieved most of the things that we really desired to achieve, we don't really feel that we have achieved them because we don't have that
Because
man.
the real achievement is the husband.
Yeah, they all, because that's how the society perceive it. You can really be having enough money, you're good at your job, you're a boss, but you're still not feeling that complete because you're looking sideways. And how will the society look at me? How do they see me? Do I seem like a leader? Do I seem important to them just because I'm not married or something like that?
yeah,
Well,
and
the
I
thing about it, Olivia, just before you jump in,
I
the
can't
thing
see
is,
anyone, by the way.
yeah, what's that?
I cannot see anyone.
Oh, you cannot see? We can see you. Maybe you play around with the
Okay.
relevancy. Don't black out yourself.
Okay.
But one of the things that I wanted to talk about, oh, now now we can see. Yeah, now we can see you.
Okay.
One of the things I want to talk about is that this is a fairly recent phenomenon, right? A lot of people think that Africa has just been historically been like this, that women have always been disempowered and out of social and political spaces. But this is a fairly recent phenomenon. As Olivia will also talk a little bit about it. In the past, women were powerful in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Some women had political offices. Some of them were commercial leaders. They were business people. They were military warriors. They did all this stuff. But at the onset of European colonialism and Christian religion, particularly one facet of Christian religion that told women that, oh, you know what? You can't lead. You can't be a pastor. You can't be a bishop. You can lead, because that it was predominantly European societies were very patriarchal. African society, not necessarily. Some were, many were also not. So you could see, like in places like among the Kikuyu in Kenya, the reference is we are the house of Mumbi. The reference point is not the masculine figure, it's the feminine figure, right? As well as in many other societies. Um, in Africa as well. So the idea that men have always been dominating in Africa, that men have always been, it's a fairly recent historical process, right?
Mm-hmm.
But many people don't know that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they consider Africa to be backwards, they feel like everything about progress comes last. So we've been always oppressed, and now the Western is the one bringing in ideas for us to be free or something like that. I feel like that's how it's viewed.
What do you think, Olivia? Why do you think that people have captured this narrative, which is in a way very outside, to be the central narrative about relationship between gender in Africa?
I think maybe it's also lack of knowledge, because history, I think history and the way the world is, it has to be like a circle. We have to go back to now where we began, and I think that's what's happening right now. As women, we're demanding to now go back into that realm or the time when our voices are heard, because we're not used to that. So I think now maybe the ideas of like feminism and stuff like that are trying like to take us back to that, but people don't know that because not many know the history behind so many African cultures. And so, when you see now, like, an African being like, yeah, I'm a feminist, you're like, what do you mean? How can you relate to that? Yet they don't know that, previously women did have such positions, or they think that women are not able or capable to hold such positions. So I think, with knowledge and such platforms, we should be able, like, to teach and empower and also like let people know the history, of African cultures.
True.
That's solid. Mhm.
But I also think religion has also contributed a bigger part of us thinking that that's how it should be.
Mhm.
Because the larger number of people in Africa are too religious. And the religions, and what we are taught when we, in those religious places, is all that you are supposed to be below a man. Like you cannot do anything contradicting your husband. So, we are just lenient to all their actions and we want to please them. And this is not because we want it. We are directed to do so. People really think that religion is the topmost thing than anything. So if you try to come to be a little different, you're looked at like you are rebellious to truth or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely think.
How about ownership of property, land, cows, things of value? How does it play out in your different cultures, backgrounds, whatever?
I mean, in Rwanda, women didn't own anything because, in short, you were just your father's daughter until you marry whichever family you marry in. It doesn't matter if you're like dad or whoever, they were rich. Now you're part of the new family, and you will not see a man saying, oh, I have a house, or we have a house. You'll be like, oh, my husband have a house. So it was more of you're happy to be with a man who has all that, which is also something I can even connect with even nowadays. I mean, right now I don't think it's still like that, but for a woman who is, for example, a stay-home mom, has a few kids they are taking care of, and they are staying home, they don't have any money. It means they don't have a say. So there is no way you're going to be like, oh, my dear husband, I don't think we should buy a house this place. Most men, Rwandan men, I've even had, they will say something like, what does this woman know? She doesn't even know how hard I work for the money. But you are home taking care of the kids. It's worth more or as much as him going to work. Because if you're to go to work, you bring in money, but there will still need to be someone paid to actually take care of the kids or take care of the house. So we are bringing in, I feel like it's been considered that, oh, the women, the traditional home of, like in Africa, the man is the one who bring in money and do everything, and the woman is the one who is just home taking care of the kids. And it's almost treated like, oh yeah, the woman just should not do nothing. And which is wrong, because if you were to quantify them giving birth, taking care of kids, and the home, making sure everything is good for their home and the kids are actually raised and have some type of family values, it's very important. And even I don't think you can amount it to a such amount of money or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think the same in my culture. I think in the Kikuyu background. Just recently, when my grandfather passed away, and my mom was like, "Yeah, the brothers had a meeting, to divide the land and to see, what's gonna go on the land." And I was like, "Hey, but what about the girls, though?" Sure. Yeah, the girls are all married off and in their husbands' houses and stuff like that. So the reality is that the land is actually left to the men to decide on what will go on with that land.
What about what the law says, though? I mean, before Winnie comes in, perhaps when Winnie talks about her culture, she'll tell us how is this contradictory? Because the law says something else, and the people do certain things. And how can we, come to terms with this?
One
think.
thing,
Mhm.
just a quick comment. One thing I've appreciated with Kenyans is that they actually know their laws and they read them, and they know what they are about. But Rwandans, they don't bother at all. Most of them will never even know what are their rights in the first place. So they settle with just whatever the men are doing. That's it.
I think as much as the laws may be there, I think tradition and culture play such
Mm.
a role, in terms of land ownership. And also, I think, as I was talking earlier on, the socialization, we've been socialized that the men are the ones to take care of certain things, in terms of land, in terms of maybe monetary or big monetary things, we look to the man, to do it. So many times we forget about what the law says and we just go by what we know traditionally or culturally.
Mhm.
We'll just be
So
like,
it means the law is subservient to cultural norms.
Yeah.
Culture is more powerful than the law.
I think it depends also in certain areas because this we're talking about in the rural areas where maybe people are not as exposed to, maybe the laws and yeah, such things.
Yeah, everyday people, like most everyday people back home, they know there is a law, but it's barely even mentioned in anything they do. They just know how it's been done for years, and that's it.
Hmm.
Winnie, how does it play out in Tanzania or any other place you want to talk about? Yeah.
Well, in Tanzania, it's a little different. Um, in terms of property and ownership of stuff, normally it's given to both children. But that also depends with different tribes. But most of the larger part, uh, if there is a joint property that is supposed to be inherited, both kids are always given shares. And they know, even if it's a house, they are divided for rooms, regardless of your gender. But like I was talking about religion and culture is when it comes to social the day-to-day livelihood of culture and religion is more prevalent than the law at the lower level. For people to really get their rightful rights, okay, their rights, they have to really be educated. They have to be literate enough to understand that I deserve this. It's not a favor you are doing for me. It's my right. I own it. But then it comes down to where culture and religion takes over. So you will be like, I own this. My dad gave me this. But when you go they will tell you, okay, go to the elders and listen to them what they say. They probably are wise enough, they can give you an advice. They will say, you know what, you're a woman and you don't belong here, so what you need to do is you need to start your own from when you are married.
Rebellious.
Yeah, your own life and your own property when you're married. This does not belong to you. And for some reason it has really brought disagreement and really bad situations within, even within family members, because the ladies feel type of way. They feel that they are not part of the family, and it really brings a great, because even if they are always given those properties, maybe their parents allocate those properties to them, they are sometimes not given to them. They have to fight really hard. There was a scenario in Tanzania. There was a lady who had a dad, and the dad passed on, but the dad married two wives, and at one point the wife was out of the picture. One wife was out of the picture, but when the dad was passing out, he wrote a will to be for a will for his property to be distributed to his kids. But one of the elder son, because it was the signatory of the family, what he did, he even had the audacity to tell this lady to have sexual relationship with her so that she can acquire what was hers. So this lady could not even go to school because this man could not allow. And so the lady had to work with the media and the government to help her through. Guess what? They found the man with the lady in a room because the lady plotted a trick on the brother. And when they came, the man was willing to do that. He was like, I can't give you unless you give me what I deserve. But the lady was like, this is my dad's property. You know, I own this. I was given this rightfully. The only thing my name is in the will. Why do you have to do this? So the government and the media had to come about to help out. So there are a lot of scenarios that are going on because I don't know how the society perceive females.
I gotta move on to another topic that I wrote here. You guys have really heavy stuff. The other one is about violence in domestic settings and violence. There's been the numbers, the statistics are terrible, especially since the pandemic started. But it's not like the pandemic started it, it's just been going on. The pandemic just forced people to live in small spaces and for them to resolve these things that they have never quite resolved. And it's been terrible for women. So we have incidences that some South African scholars call femicide. That is the targeted killing of women with family members or loved ones for things that are unknown. Extreme battery, beating women, and sexual violence, rape, whether tricked rape or violent rape, date rape, and things like that. In even much worse cases of sexual violence against minors. So I want to hear what you guys say of this. Yeah.
But I have a question for you first.
Yes.
As a man,
Yeah.
what do you think about some men saying that, African men, let's put it like that, saying that sex is a marital duty?
I don't think it is a marital duty, and of course, I am not gonna tell you the view on the street. All right, but I think that even within marriage, there still have to be consent. There still has to be seduction, and there has to be a lot more.
Understanding and
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the expectation is that it's part of marriage, but it's not a right. You don't, nobody owns somebody's
Right.
right, in short. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
go ahead and say what you say. I said a lot of stuff. Huh?
so the only thing I want to say about violence, I won't say much because I probably don't have any I don't know like something specifically about that, but I want to approach it through two different words:
Mm.
humility and accountability. So that's from man and woman.
Mm.
So most of the mistreatment of African women has been hidden behind humility. Like when I hear like women being beaten or having issues with their husband, I've heard them being asked, "What did you do? What did you say?" Or they say something like, "Oh, women cannot guard their mouth," something like that.
Mhm.
And so I don't know about Kenya or Tanzania, but in Rwanda, if I was to define humility is something good, everyone needs to be humble, not just women. But the way they define humility when they say a woman should be humble, it's more of you should just shut up, especially if there are people with men involved there. Like your say doesn't matter, especially if your husband is there, whatever he is saying, always just say yes, which is fine to support your husband. But when they put it like you should just shut up, you should not probably even say you support him, just sit there. And also, part of it is like maybe if they do something wrong, not they are not never accountable. They even there is a saying in my language that says like the man's faults are their way, like their way of growing or something. You don't even question them. And so you hear like these women, oh, they talked back when the man did something wrong. That's why they were beaten. What were they saying? So that kind of like African men are never held accountable. And then women should be just humble, quiet. They don't respond back to anything. And, they just say yes and keep it going and keep quiet when there is anyone. For me, that's like the starting of it. I've heard in most things, most issues. And coming back to equality, the fact that I'm a woman doesn't mean that I don't have an opinion or I should not keep you accountable. I don't know. That's just, for me, that's like the smallest thing, but it affects women, especially in marriages, every day.
Yeah, I think there's so much to unpack, on gender-based violence. I think the first thing that I would say is tradition, I think, has done a disservice to women. Because I think from the onset, when the concept of dowry, when you supposedly pay for the woman, now she's mine, and now I have the right to treat her however I want to. I don't think initially dowry was meant for, owning or anything like that. I think, it was just as a way to appreciate the family, for what they've done, and stuff like that. But when you now view it as, yeah, now this is my woman, she's my property, and I can do whatever I want with her. I think, that's a basis of the violence, when it starts, like, if she does something wrong, oh, she can't get it right, I'm gonna hit her so next time she can learn, or I saw her talking to a man, I'm gonna hit her so next time she knows, as if you want to streamline the woman, into something that you want. And I think another thing is that we've accepted this toxic behavior from men. We've normalized it to such a point where it's no longer a problem. We're now asking the woman, what did you do? As Marcella said, it's no longer the man, like, why did you do that? The woman is like, why did the woman do
What
that?
did you do this
"Oh, what
time?
did you do?" Instead of actually, like, taking into account what the man has done and condemning him or putting him accountable, for his actions. I think, as much as I love my traditions, I think we have done a disservice to women. And I think that, we should be able to go to the drawing board and see if some of these things actually are serving us today.
Yeah, before we leave, I want to say that you're totally right. We've normalized bad culture, but if you look at some of these works, like non-fiction works from Achinua Achebe, there's a story of somebody called Izuolo. Izuolo was this horrible guy. He beat his wife, and then his wife went back, and his brother said, is he had like six big brother, tall men, 6'5" tall, like basketball players. And their father was mad at him. This is in the book, Achebe's book. And they were so mad they want to go back to their village, to the man's village, and beat up the man. And the father said, no, you can't do that. That's his stuff. You're going to be invading. But this is what you're going to do. Call him up here. I'll call him. So they send a messenger. They call the man. He came over. They cooked a big fufu and they ate and stuff. And in the evening, they said, let's walk around the village. And they trapped him. And then they beat the heck out of him with cans. And then they told him, well, your wife will follow you 2 days after this. But if you beat her again, next time we'll bury you in this village. And he never beat his wife again. The point is, there was some sort of accountability in the past. I mean, violence for violence is not really the way, but in traditional African society, there's mechanism, and excessive violence is often looked down, right? But in this normalized society where everybody violent, when in like modern society, violent people want to keep things to themselves. They don't want to share. They are afraid of the legal system and the embarrassment and how punitive it can be. So there's no resolution mechanisms that are harmonious to the settings.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think also, traditionally as women, we've been taught like to hush, don't say that because they might view us a certain way. They might view our family a certain way. And we don't want that. So even if you've been abused, if you've, gone through violence, you're just going to keep it quiet. And I think it also translates into like,
because you're putting out marital matters out and they should stay in the house, in the home.
For so long we've been taught that. And I think it also like now manifests in different ways whereby the man can treat his wife like that at home and he's viewed in the society of a macho man, so he's going to do it to another woman who's not his wife. Women are groped, assaulted, for such petty things like wearing short skirts, because as a society we viewed women as inherently guilty. Like she wears a short skirt, a man gropes her, assaults her. Why was she wearing that? We're not making the man accountable for, can't you control your feelings? Can't you control, your sexual drive? No, it's a woman who's always guilty. So
I also think that how do you say? We don't have a support system. We don't have a support system in that even if we pledge our cases and express ourselves to the authorities, we are like, this is a family issue, go sit down with your partner and settle down things. But this is somebody who I've lived with and he's been doing this to me and I've kept up to this. And now I'm coming out for help, but I'm not being helped. Another thing is stigmatization. Now, why were you beaten? I don't know. Maybe you down talked him, you bad-mouthed him, or maybe always, like she said, we are always on the mistake side. We are not right, no matter what, men are always going to be right. So we always scared of what will transpire when we speak out. Even when we are raped, they will ask you questions like, what were you wearing? The same thing I spoke about. Where were you?
At night?
What were you doing? So we are not able to communicate how we feel, and we die silently each and every day because we are not heard. There's nobody to listen to us. Another thing is also inadequate resources. Fine, we might speak out, we might do stuff like that. These adequate resources, okay, we have, let's say, ustawi wa jamii. In my country, we call it ustawi wa jamii. I don't know, social workers. So I go to ustawi wa jamii. My case is heard today. Maybe there are 2 people. I go the next day, the file has been forgotten. Thousands of people have brought their cases. And it can't be solved because the resources are limited. The society is just against me going to appeal. So I don't get enough help that I need to get. There are fewer places for me to go and report. And even if we say that there's non-governmental organizations that support us, they're not enough because it is every day the United National Fund says that 1 out of 3 women are physically and sexually abused every day. But that is just sexually and physically. But how many abuses do we have? We have emotionally, we have psychology, we have been deprived of going to school, economically. We can't even do business because if I'm a woman and I'm going to do my business, my husband is you're going to look for another man outside there. You are coming to be beaten, or maybe your business is coming to be destroyed. We've seen this several times. And it's just so repeatedly being done. But because we don't have, like I said before, we have a poor support system, we have less resources to help us voice out our voices, and we also have, like, the society is just so reserved on women. I don't know, that we can't express ourselves. Like they were saying, everything family matters stays within family matters. If they go out, you're not a good woman, you're not a good girl, you are not raised the way you are raised. But we are hurting every day. And I think, as much as we were talking about feminism, there's something that the feminist strategy lacked: incorporating these men and making them understand that we are not here to look down on them or to make them feel less adequate. We are here so that we can walk this journey together, because we are codependent. I can't do it alone. I need you. We can't take other people outside the society. They are part of the society. They are here with us. So they need to be taught and understand that there is a better way of communication other than beating us and putting us to a more physical abuse and or emotional abuse and stuff, like, or even sexually or even physically, all those kinds of abuses. If they are taught and they help us walk the journey, they will feel that they are part of us and we can bring something out in the long run. But when we worked as feminists and we just want to come out through emotions, oh, they are doing this to us, they are putting us down, they feel that we are coming as a threat and they're not going to change. So I think the strategies really need to be considered, and then we should incorporate them, educate them, and make them feel part of us, because we are not here as feminists or to demean them or to make them less of human or to be on top of them. All we want is just, we want to feel both valued equally and both appreciated equally, that both of us can to contribute something on the table and make this world a better place for each of us. That's how I think.
I just wanted to add something about that. I feel like the whole issue, even like what Uba was saying, that actually violence has really gone up. Even in Rwanda has really done very well with the law, and including women. There is like over 60% women in the parliament, and there is a lot of laws that really protect women. But then what happened is women felt threatened, like what we're talking about, like, oh, the women, they are going to take over, which was not true. But this whole feminism was almost like it's women who are fighting against men, but it's actually not true, because I want men to feel included, because we actually need them, because they are the ones holding those positions in offices. They are our husbands, our fathers. And actually, if men viewed it as, would I want my mom to be treated like that? Would I want my sister to be treated like that? Would I want my own daughter to be married and be treated like that? It would be so much easier. And I don't know, I think also another big issue with African men is their ego. Very big ego that takes over, and then they can't, when you're even trying to explain something so small, they can't just open their mind to listen to you. Because to me, if they were to actually understand it as in, we are fighting for my daughter to not get beaten, to have a better life, to have better chances, regardless, not to be depending on anyone to be great or to do whatever she wants in life, it would be so much easier. And this whole equality will be reached. And there won't be any bidding, like the high divorces rate, because it's mostly, I think, women wanting to have a voice and men can take it because they have been used to when you're married, the man is the one who says everything and then we shut up and then the family works. The moment the woman speaks out, divorce is coming soon. And if they understood it that way, they are giving, if you're treating their mother like that, are you telling your daughter that, when she grows up, that's how she should behave? I wish men viewed it like that.
I think, gender equality serves, to benefit the man. So I think
Mhm.
that's a main problem here, when somebody has been given privilege for such a long time and now you want to question it or to challenge it, then that becomes a problem,
Mm.
And I think that's what we're trying to break, those barriers we're trying to break and try and educate and, get rid of the socialization because we are the product of, the society that entertains such barbaric behavior from men, and we've normalized it. But to be able to break such barriers, we have to really see, the privilege and be able to make them understand, as Marcella said, for your daughter, for your mother to have a better life, we have to break those barriers.
Thank you, guys. This is wonderful. Now, we have about 3 minutes left, and then we call it quit. But lastly, I just wanted to talk about how much of it is really freeing to listen to people and having them talk about their experiences. And the other thing is how much of this is just like internalized kind of self-hate. A lot of these men are what is it called? Toxic masculinity. They are
Mm.
performing maleness by performing dominance because
Mm.
they lack it in more substantial ways. So, like lack of money, lack of social standing. They've been historically been marginalized. I mean, the black man has been historically marginalized
Mm.
among other men. So the women become the next space to express this male urge to dominate things, and our government don't invest enough on sports, on arts, on other stuffs which can allow people to uh, take out the energy, the angst, right? So then the next space is
But
this,
over,
yeah,
I don't really think that it's only an African thing. This is a world crisis.
yes it is.
Yes, as much as most in Africa, it's most really exposed because that's what people focus in. But a lot of people are being really violenced each and every day. We are violenced even in our places of work. We are violenced, and it's not one way. Even as female, we sometimes violate our significant other. Like it's not one-sided. We don't need to be like we are the victims all the time, but this should be a general. We should all take responsibility to creating this world a better place for each of us, because when we do those things, they are, how do we call, they are continuous. They don't stop. If your dad was beating your mom, your son is likely to go and beat his wife. Why? Because that's the environment they saw.
That's
That's the
the way they
communication they understand. So we need to put more resources outside there, more training outside there for people to really understand, more advocacies, more speaking outside there so people to understand. Otherwise, we are not going to end this, and we will just be making it worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's not going to be healthy for the next generation.
Anyway, ladies, that's all the time we have. We can talk about more. I think we had a little more. I wanted to ask about dating and all this kind of stuff, but perhaps we can save that for another day. So I think our viewers are going to be enlightened hearing about your voices and your transparency and forthrightness in this discourse about gender equality. So we thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for your time and support and really good contribution. And we hope that it's going to be a better generation going forward for many Africans and many people all over the world. Thank you guys. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
bye.
Yeah. All right. End meeting. Did I end meeting? Yes, I did. Oh.